Nanko over here, Dustin right here, and this show is all about consistency. You know, when you look at the players' numbers at the end of the year, you look at their point total, it doesn't always tell the whole story. You know, they may have scored 180 points, but 80 of those points came in 4 games. And that is something you do need to pay attention to, because if you fill your team with boom or bust type guys, when they boom, it's going to be great, but when they bust, you're probably going to lose. And it doesn't matter if you win by 40 points or 1 point. A win's a win, so sometimes it's better to have a consistently good team than a team that's really great some weeks and not so great other weeks.
So before we get into, giving you a few examples, got some exciting news. PhenomsFF.com, they're sponsoring our forum page. And during the year, if you're looking to join one more league for money, and maybe you want to do a snake draft, maybe you want to do an ox draft, whatever that is, Phenoms FF has you covered. Just go to the site, join what league you want to, you get in with other guys that know what they're doing, or gals, and start playing from there. It's an absolutely great site. I'm joined in auction. I'm excited for that because auction leagues are amazing, and not enough of my friends want to do it, so I'm going on PhenomsFF.com to do that.
And if you need to find the site, go to our forums. Links are all over the place.
He's everywhere in it. Alright, so whenever we're talking about the quarterbacks, consistency, everyone keeps saying, oh, you can wait on quarterback, it's so deep, wait on quarterback. We don't buy that at Fantasy Smack Talk, and here's why. Throw out Peyton Manning, the second-ranked quarterback last year, Drew Brees, only averaged 6.3 more points a game than Tony Romo when it was all said and done, just taking the total numbers divided by games played. But that 6.3 is very deceiving, because during the course of the year, Drew Brees only threw for under 250 yards twice.
Pretty crazy.
Pretty crazy. Tony Romo, 9 times.
That's
so,
pretty crazy too.
Romo had some huge games, like 500 and some yards against Denver and whatnot. It's that consistency that hurts you. You'd much rather have a Drew Brees that's going to be good and steadily good all year than a Romo that's going to be up and down. Because like Dustin said, winning by 1, winning by 40, it doesn't matter as long as you win.
And 2 more quarterbacks too I wanted to quickly talk about. It's Dalton and Rivers. So if you get a little bit later in the draft, if you are one of the people that waited, you look at those 2 guys, very similar seasons, but again, kind of a different story on how they got to their point totals. Rivers was pretty consistent all throughout, and Dalton, had a handful of games where he really blew up. So you need to kind of consider that, with certain teams, if you've been kind of safe all the way through, then maybe Dalton's the guy you want, but if you've had a lot of boom or bust guys already, maybe you go with the more safer pick with Rivers in that case. But running back's even harder, because there's so many more factors that go into inconsistency. Maybe it's how many touches you get. Maybe it's if your team's winning or losing and you're not getting balls in the second half. But the key with the consistency with running backs and why these guys go in the first and second round so often is just consistent touches. So guys like
touches is always key.
It's always key, but guys like Le'Veon Bell, Eddie Lacy, the true workhorses of a team, whether they're winning or losing, they're out on the field. Those are the guys. That's the reason why you have to pay such a hefty price tag. But once you get into the little bit later rounds, that's when the inconsistencies come into play. Stephen Ridley, the guy was all over the place, a New England running back. Chris Johnson, who knows what's going to happen with him and the Jets. And even Reggie Bush, a guy that is going to get drafted really high. You're going to have to take the good with the bad with him. So it's just something to consider. And obviously running backs, it's a lot harder to predict.
See, not as hard to predict is the inconsistency of pretty much every tight end in the NFL except for one, and that's Jimmy Graham. I don't know why. Who hates on Jimmy Graham in the first round? We've gotten a couple comments like that in our projected top 10 rankings. That is insane. Jimmy Graham is so much more dominant than every tight end, and not only is he more dominant for the entire season, he pretty much finishes the #1 tight end every single week consistently. So you have a huge difference between for instance, the number 6 ranked tight end last year, Jason Witten. Graham was over 100 points better than him throughout the course of the year, and every week was about a touchdown better when it came to total yards points, about 7 points better than it seemed like every single week. Jimmy Graham early, A-okay in my book.
And wide receiver is another position where you do have a lot of those kind of boom or bust type guys. And when you really have to consider that when looking at, who you're deciding to draft and the point totals for the year. One of the biggest examples of this is Andre Johnson. You look at his numbers, his total numbers, pretty solid, but you got to remember he had 1 week where he had over 40 points in a standard league.
Standard, not even
PPR.
A PPR That's
league.
Insane.
That's like 3 good weeks in 1 week. So yes, he had a great year, but a lot of it was from that one game, so you have to keep that in mind. Marvin Jones, kind of same thing. We do like Marvin Jones. I like Marvin Jones to a point.
It's a Bengal, so he likes him even more.
36 points 1 week, so you have to factor that in. Deshaun Jackson, he had 5 really big games that kind of helped his stats.
And that's been his MO his entire life. It's gonna stick with the Redskins as well.
Vincent Jackson,
boomer bust guy.
Yeah, not a bad guy. Vincent Jackson, great year, but most of his stats came from 3 games. And Cordero Patterson, another guy that's getting a lot of hype. He's going to be a boomer bust type guy. And please don't get us wrong on what we're trying to say here. We're not saying we don't like these guys. We're just saying it's risky filling your team up with these guys. Grab a couple, 2, 3. It's nice to have these guys because when they do boom.
And everyone's going to have a few of these.
Right.
And if you have some of these boomer bust guys and you're like in a PPR league, grab some guys that you know are going to get a lot of targets, maybe not score a ton of touchdowns, but get a lot of points. Just try to balance it out. But this is great. This is some good info, but some really great news that our CEO and president needs to tell you about.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun.
The app is up. It is up. Finally, after years of hard work, our Fantasy Football University is up. You can search for it on the App Store. We'll have a link to it on the homepage. Check it out. Read it. Give us a good rating. Tell your friends. It's only $1.99
And please hate on YouTube or wherever else all you want, but please, this is the only time I'm going to ask you to give a good rating because iTunes actually cares about that. So please, hate on me and YouTube all you want.
And as far as this video goes, consistency rating, we just wanted to give you one more thing to think about when you're doing your rankings. It's not something to pay too much attention to, but something to think about.
Apps Live.
Little high.
Little high.
I'll show you how it's done. Oh! That was perfect!
Oh, that was good too!
Not as good as mine. Did you like what you saw? Then check out some of our other videos and subscribe to our channel.